On this week's episode, is it only Murders in the Building for Hulu? A PS5 price hike bums gamers, and it's... Ooh, okay, a typo, sorry. And it's time to head down to Star Trek's lower decks once again. All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. Couldn't read my own writing there. My gosh, what's up with that?
Hey,
And we're back. Go ahead.
I was going to say, these things happen.
These things happen indeed, but it doesn't always run smoothly, but it will for the rest of the show. We'll do our best. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glassman from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, the Lakers Fast Break, Vampires and Vitae, also as well, Wizards and Wine with Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and all the great things that we do because we're the #1 tabletop RPG streamer on Facebook, and you can catch the many videos that we have waiting for you right there on Facebook at Pop Culture Cosmos, where you can also catch the latest news and trends in pop culture that I drop right there each and every day on Facebook. So if you go ahead and you can catch all that, plus all the things that we do at Pop Culture Cosmos, popculturecosmos.com, Vampires and Vitae, and of course, Wizards and Wine, it is sincerely appreciated. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. She is the very frustrated individual right now in the world of pop culture. It is a great person indeed. You got to go ahead and check out what she's doing today. And please, after a day like today, go ahead and support everything that she's doing today, including Wizards and Wine with Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and of course, Vampires and Vitae. It is my good friend, hopefully who will not kill me during this podcast. It is Miss Melinda Barkhouse-Ross. And Melinda, you need to achieve that Zen-like state in order to relax.
I do. It was just one of those days where everything that went wrong in an incredibly frustrating way, and not just that it was wrong. It was like insulting the level of wrongness that I was dealing with today. So,
well,
I'm glad to be here now, though, because it means that the hard part of the day is over and now the fun stuff is happening.
Absolutely. And we are glad, so glad to have you here as the core member of the PCC Multiverse. The reason why everybody's here, they're certainly not here to immediately blow out hot air for an hour, that's for sure. But we do appreciate you listening and you watching right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. But on tap for a great show today is the PCC Multiverse. We're going to be talking about a lot of things, including the success for HBO for The House of the Dragon. How well to do? And do we like it? Coming through episode 1. We'll talk about that. Plus also as well, Gamescom had many announcements of many games. And a big announcement for PlayStation, which a lot of people around the world are not liking too much. So we'll talk about a price hike for many around the world for the PlayStation 5. That's coming up in a bit. Plus also as well, Star Trek Lower Decks just started season 3. Our hopes for this show, that's coming up on the back end of the show. Plus also as well, DC with its new Kevin Feige in place. We'll tell you who that is. Made some decisions as far as the future for a couple of sequels in the DC universe. That's coming up on the show. Plus also as well, our good friend stops by for her August TV update. It's Dawn Fobbs from the Mother Daughter Ish podcast. She's going to be talking about all the great things coming up that she's looking forward to in September. That's coming up, plus also her thoughts on Only Murders in the Building. And is it the best show ever for Hulu? Plus She-Hulk episode 3 and more. That's coming up on the show as well. But first, my friend, A big hit because we have returned to the world of Westeros and Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. I did get a chance to see it. Sounds like you did as well from reading the DMs back and forth. We'll say that 10 million people tuned in to the first episode, which means it's a big hit initially for HBO and HBO Max. The much beleaguered HBO and HBO Max after all the money that they've been hemorrhaging out these past few weeks. But your thoughts on if House of the Dragon got off to a flying, get it? Flying dragon start.
It certainly got off to a shocking start.
Okay.
I'll put it that way. I'm gonna talk about the scene, and I know you've seen the episode, so I'm pretty sure you know the scene that I'm talking about was one of the most brutal things I think that I have ever seen, and I have watched all of Game of Thrones, so I've seen some pretty brutal stuff. But wow, it was hard to sit through.
I don't want to go down this road too much other than to say, is it really any stranger than the gag in The Boys season 3 that they pulled off in that first episode?
I mean, that's completely fair, but what it did, I think, was it set the tone back to the parts of Game of Thrones that people loved so much.
This is
They
true.
love
Good
they
point.
love stuff coming out of nowhere, things that they aren't expecting. It's uncomfortable, but you're glued to the TV at the same time. And I think that Game of Thrones knows that the last season was an incorrect way to end things, and perhaps this is a way for them to maybe apologize a little bit to the fans for what they did to the original series, the main series with this spinoff. I don't know, but that's what I'm hoping for. It felt like they were like, remember when it was really great show and you loved to watch it, and we did all of this really crazy, wild stuff. So it felt reminiscent of all of that, and it definitely brought back the love of Game of Thrones that I've had.
It seemed like to me a best of paint by numbers Game of
Okay.
Thrones episode. Just like
Okay.
we know what worked at Game of Thrones, so
Yeah.
we'll show you the backstages of the political intrigue. We'll show you the shocking scenes this time with the City Watch and the Golden Cloaks. So now every time you will see the Golden Cloaks coming your way, you're probably going to go and run the other way because of what
Yeah.
happened after this episode. You see the shocking scenes as far as all the debauchery and other things that you're used to seeing in episodes of Game of Thrones. So I think this was like a best of that they wanted to hit you up with. They wanted to showcase a little bit of everything that you've seen and come to know from Game of Thrones. So for that, I don't think it's a bad episode. I just thought it was okay. This is something I've seen and done before in the world of Westeros. I'm not the biggest fan of the world of Game of Thrones. Remember, I've said on this show I had to get back into it with season 6, 7, and then 8 was a total letdown, as you've heard
Yeah.
from me and Josh over the years. But I thought this was okay for what it was. I think that, like, again, I would probably have gone an Arya Stark as as far as her adventures, or maybe Jon Snow, that sequel that they've talked about doing that he's going to start ramping up for. I probably would have started that first before going back in time, but hey, it's Game of Thrones, and obviously by 10 million people standards, it was something that they wanted to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. It shows that there is still a thirst for the show and for that
Oh,
kind of
no doubt.
programming. And I think too that um the the thing that oh no, I've lost my train of thought. I apologize. It's gone. The
I
train
went
has
back
left
to
the
that
building.
shocking scene. Yeah,
Yeah, no, it wasn't going back to that scene there, but it was a really good point that I was going to make.
that scream
It
that
was
from that guy that made was just like,
it was a rebuttal. Oh, that's what it was. The difference is that I believe in the next episode we do a bit of a time jump forward
that is
in
correct.
time.
Yes, good,
Yeah.
very good point. Very good point because they do with some of the main characters, you'll be seeing a different character in the mix because they'll be aged up accordingly, whereas some of the characters will remain the same. So you'll be seeing that. Excellent point. I just thought that my screaming might have done something to bring that. Not quite sure what that is, but you know what? Again, you saw the shocking scenes, you saw the debauchery, you saw the political intrigue, you see a lot of stuff that I thought was very Game of Thrones ish. Nothing that was outside of the box. It just seemed to check a lot of boxes. And I think that's what people wanted. I think that's
Yeah.
what people needed to see. And again, it just was very smart of the Game of Thrones producers to go about this way and to go ahead and do something that they're very familiar with making, and everybody that's watching it is very familiar in watching when it comes to Game of Thrones.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that if they had done anything and fell short of what we saw in that first episode, I don't think that people would have been excited to watch the second episode.
Yeah.
I think that if it didn't feel like Game of Thrones, if it didn't check those boxes, it may have seen a very drastic cut in the second season, or sorry, second episode. I don't think it's going to. I think that we may even see viewership come up a little bit between now and the second episode.
Watch out for those golden cloaks. That's all I'll
True
say.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, indeed. Watch out, everyone. Please be careful of those golden cloaks. But what are your thoughts out there on the first episode of Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon? Was it as inspiring for you to come back to the world of Westeros as it was for Melinda? And I thought it was actually an okay episode myself. Again, they were smart to go about it the way they did because, my gosh, everybody's talking about it and they've got 10 million people watching it. You can't go wrong from there. But let me hear your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Before we hit the break, I wanted to go ahead and ask you real quick when it comes to the DC adjustments that were made as far as Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods, and Aquaman 2, with the travels of Atlantis and all that as far as Aquaman 2 is concerned. Aquaman 2 is being moved to next year, 2023. It's going to be moved, I think, to December, Christmas of 2023, whereas the December movie for this year, Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods, is being moved to March 17th, 2023. So your thoughts on this? I think it's smart, especially on the case of the Shazam movie, because they would be competing against the Avatar 2 sequel, which is pretty much a recipe for death.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty smart for them. They are going to fill it with a couple shows that were meant to go straight to HBO Max. They're actually going to go ahead and put a couple of the HBO Max movies like House Party and some others, not Bad Girl, but some other things that they were going to go ahead and release just for HBO Max. They're actually going to re-release now on theaters because they're now in more of a money-making mindset. But your thoughts as DC now prepares to go ahead and move on? The only thing I didn't think was a surprise with all the changes that they made, because not only did they change these movies, but they changed some other movies as far as Warner Brother movies as well, as far as the shuffling around. The only movie that they didn't change around that was very peculiar was Flashpoint. Your thoughts on the changes for the DC and Warner Brothers movies that they made this week?
Oh, I wonder if it's it's such a sticky subject, and I apologize, but I wonder if it means that Ms. Heard is going to be taken out of the movie and a new actress put in, because the scenes are so digitally heavy. They could almost just impose a new actress over what has already been filmed, right? That's pure speculation. I really don't know, and I haven't heard anything. I haven't read anything to say that that's what they were thinking, but you have to wonder if that's not a little bit of what's going on.
Well, we'll see, because they have hired a new Kevin Feige head individual, similar to what we've seen, of course, with the success of Kevin Feige over at Marvel. His name is Dan Lin, who will be the new company's, who'll be the DC chief, with his overseeing both the film and television entities for the DC universe. So we'll see what his new vision for the world of DC is going to be like. But I see some changes in store. I still think Flashpoint, going one way or the other on it, making a definitive decision going forward with what Ezra Miller's gone through. And I understand that they are going through the process of rehabilitation and therapy, and more power to them. But they're still, with all the bad stuff that's gone on, you got to go ahead and make a decision now on what you want to do with the DC universe going forward.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm, as surprised as everybody else that that movie in particular isn't one of the ones that have been pushed back for the reasons that we talked about last week. It just seems important to to give them the time that they need to go through, some therapy and some rehabilitation and all of that kind of stuff. So hopefully, we're going to see them come out on the other side of this and be a healed person, or at least on their way to being that. And it's just, I find it so puzzling that they haven't pushed it back, because you're not going to do a press junket. You're not going to do, the press tour and all of that
But you
stuff. So
need to with a $300 million movie, and the problem is, but you can't because you've got your lead star in so much trouble.
exactly what I'm saying. Yes, exactly. So I wonder if a little bit of that, there has to be an update coming on that movie and the release of it soon. Perhaps Ezra isn't going to be as what's the word I'm looking for? Perhaps it's not going to take the amount of time that we all assume it will take for him to get well enough to be able to deal with the pressure of going around and doing the press tour and stuff for this movie. I personally think, only going through therapy myself when, a few years ago, it's not a thing that you want to rush.
No.
It is something that you should definitely take time with. And I know that a $300 million movie and you're the lead guy is going to, make you feel like you may have to push things through and maybe put yourself into a situation that um, you're not as prepared for as you could be if you took those extra couple of months. I don't know. I'm really surprised that that's not one of the titles that have been pushed back.
Well, we'll see what happens because Dan Lin is now the individual in charge of DC, with both overseeing the film and television division. So he is now going to be the Kevin Feige of the DCEU. So we'll see what happens there as far as everything going on with the newly stated movie coming to 2023, and Shazam Fury of the Gods, and of course Aquaman 2, which is going to be pushed back to Christmas of 2023. So we'll see what happens. They're actually going to be with Aquaman 2. I think they figure it's easier for a DC movie to face off against an unknown Star Wars movie, which is right now on the docket for Disney in Christmas 2023, than face off against an Avatar movie coming in Christmas of 2022.
Yeah. I mean, pick your poison.
That's for sure. That's
You
for
know?
sure. But what are your thoughts out there on DC, the changes that have been made? Obviously, still the controversy surrounding Batgirl, the controversy surrounding Flashpoint, the controversy and future for DCEU as a whole, as they found their own version of Kevin Feige and, of course, made some schedule changes as well. Please let us know your thoughts on the DCEU as it stands right now. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. Well, before we hit the half-hour break, Melinda, you've been tremendous so far. We're going to keep it rolling as always. I wish we were, though. You, me, your husband, the whole Pop Culture Cosmos crew. I wish we were in Cologne, Germany right now, because we
Oh,
would
what's
be at Gamescom.
right? Yes.
Because that's where it's happening for video game fans right now, because Gamescom made lots of announcements. It's the second major big show of the year behind E3, when E3 is actually still a thing, which we're hoping it will be once again. They've said it will be returned, so hopefully it will become the biggest thing on the block. But Gamescom is not too far behind, and there were several announcements this week. The first main one that people are really upset about, though, is not a very good one. And that was said, if you were on the East Coast or the West Coast, said in the early morning hours here in the US. And that was that for most regions around the world, major one excluded being the US, is that there's a price hike in store, with most going up in regards to about 50 value in whatever denomination is what you pay for it in your area of the world. Most likely, if it 50 pounds, 50 yen, basically $50, wherever it is that you're going to go ahead and pay for it, except for the US and some other select markets. But the US is being singled out a lot in the commentary that's going back and forth right now, that why is the US so lucky to go ahead and have it. I'm going to tell you, before the US Christmas shopping season, it's imperative that PlayStation get a foothold, and with a $50 price increase or more, that would really hand things over to Xbox, which has stated soon after they jumped all over it, said they're not changing the price on their Xbox Series S or Xbox Series X.
Yeah. That would. I mean, what did they say the issue was? Is it the chip again? Is it supply chain
Chip,
stuff?
yeah, the supply chain,
Yeah.
coronavirus, the same excuses the same excuses you've been hearing now for the past year, 2 years. They say it finally caught up. The same reason why MetaQuest, it raised the price of the MetaQuest 2 for $100 above what it was, and really angering individuals out there. And the reason why they have been very standoffish. They gave a date or a time frame that they're going to release next year, the PlayStation VR 2, but they amazingly didn't give a price on it. So, that's all these things come into question in regards to it. But yeah, the PlayStation 5 going up in a rare move for a console.
Yeah.
2 years into its lifespan, 2+ years into its lifespan, that's really something different, because usually you start thinking about now that the price starts to go down because the parts are supposed to get cheaper, but it's a rare time when the price actually goes up for a console.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too that well, I shouldn't say I think too. But I had an email last week. It was like, "Hey, we'd like to invite you to purchase a PlayStation." And I was like, "Well, I'm not kind of on the fence about the PS5. I just don't think I need it yet." But you know what I'm holding out for? And I don't know that the PS5 is going to do it, but I'm holding out for, those theme bundles that you can get. I want the
Mhm.
Diablo theme bundle, right? Wouldn't that be great? Huh? Huh?
Well, it would be great, but it's not. I don't know. I don't know if they would actually do something like that because of the fact that it's owned by Microsoft. So I'm not sure that they.
I
I
know, but I can hold on to a
I could
dream
see a
a little
Diablo
bit
Xbox Series
longer.
X package maybe
I
being
don't
an offer.
want an Xbox.
I know you don't. I'm just teasing you on that, but it'd be kind of weird for a Microsoft product to be in a bundle unless it was done something like an aftermarket, like a third-party vendor saying, "Hey, for this amount, you could go ahead and get that thing." That I could see happening, but being it like in the box, pre-packaged, pre-done by Sony and Microsoft agreeing on that, I don't know. That would be kind
Like
of a
some
hard
cool
stretch.
graphics on the side of it, specific controllers with fancy graphics. Come on, it would be
I
amazing,
was thinking about that the other day. I miss the days of the Xbox 360 where you could customize the entire console and look of the
right?
console. I miss that. I truly
Yeah.
do. I think that's something that one of these manufacturers should go back to, because I really think that would be cool. That's just me.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the point. Yes, a $50 increase is a little bit crazy. I'm glad that they're not doing it in the US
For now.
for now, as we roll into the Christmas shopping season, which by the way, it's almost September. So September, October, lots of folks are starting their shopping, and a lot of people make those big purchases first. So they
Mhm.
have the big gift early before the rush,
If you can
and
find it.
then if you can find it, and then you go ahead and you do your shopping for, the other bits and pieces that, people are getting for Christmas. But man, oh man, that's really disappointing.
It
And
is really disappointing.
for it to still be like supply chain issues and stuff like that, I don't know. I mean, obviously I'm not in the world of shipping or, making things get places they need to be, but my goodness. Is it really still that messy out there in the big wide world?
Evidently, it must be for Sony, but it is very disappointing. I really think that because the US shopping season coming up being so important and imperative to the overall sales for Sony, that's why they did not go ahead and push the button on a price increase for the US for now. I do think people need to beware and watch out at the first part of next year that they don't dump it on you then. That's
Yeah.
just something I'm just speculating on and just providing opinion. That's nothing I know inside or anything like that, but just a reasonable guess. So please beware that might happen going forward. Be out on the lookout. So if you might be inclined to go ahead and get one sooner rather than later, but that again, that's all up to you. But what do you think out there on the PlayStation 5 price hike for most of the world? Japan, Australia, Europe, it's all seemed to be going up in most of these countries. Please let us know your thoughts on the PlayStation 5 price hike. And are you mad that the US was made free from this as far as being able to go ahead and keep that $500 price range while so many other countries didn't. Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. But before we hit the break, many announcements at Gamescom because many games were announced. I will say that Sony, on the good side, did announce that they do have PlayStation VR 2 coming out early next year. Have not mentioned a price as of yet, but that's a good sign so that they can compete with MetaQuest 2. But we'll see how expensive it is because we see obviously the cost involved with the PlayStation 5. They did announce a new Elite Pro controller. Didn't know if you got a chance to see the DualSense Edge controller that's coming out, which they haven't named a price yet, but it's going to probably be somewhere between $150 to $200. Looks pretty sweet if you're a high-end gamer looking for a high-end controller. But there were so many games that were announced. Some were maybe a little bit more prominent than others. I know a lot of people were talking about the new Dune game
Yeah.
that's coming sometime in 2023 as far as being an open world MMO. A lot of people were talking about that. A lot of people were talking about the new Tales from the Borderlands game that's coming out from Gearbox. A lot of people were talking about the return, finally, which has been in development hell forever, for Dead Island 2. I remember seeing a trailer for this back at E3 2014 to give you an idea about how long this game is in development, but they did announce it will be coming next year. So you will be getting a Dead Island 2 next year. Talked about Homeworld 3, a new story trailer for Genshin Impact. High on Life, you got to see a lot more footage of that, and it's looking really funny and it's looking really cool. They talked about the Expanse Telltale series, an update on that, plus also as well the AEW wrestling game that's coming out. They showed a lot of that. Killer Clowns from Outer Space and how that's going to be a cool multiplayer concept coming out. Age of Empires 4. Hideo Kojima talked about his new podcast, Brain Structure, coming soon. Warhammer 40,000, Dark Tide. If you didn't get a chance to see that, Melinda, you and Robbie got to check that
Yeah.
out.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that seemed to be crossing your plate on something that really looked good to you at Gamescom this year?
Honestly, it's you know what? It's a goofy looking little game, but I'm excited about it. I am super excited for Moving Out 2. Moving Out 2.
Mm.
I know it looks silly, but sometimes you need that kind of a game. Um
Absolutely. I think that
I like
that High on Life game is very similar as far as being very comedic, and a lot of people are looking forward to that.
Yeah, exactly. I love a good couch co-op, and they're saying too that Moving Day 2 is also going to include some online co-op play as well. So that's also very cool.
I liked a lot of what I saw at Gamescom. Nothing really outstanding or not too many AAA games, but a
Right.
lot of good indie games, a lot of good mid-tier games that might be approachable and easy to get into. The finals, which has a pedigree and a legacy from the Battlefield series with a lot of developers coming from that background and experience, that seems to be a really cool FPS concept right there. So I'm looking forward to that. But overall, I thought it was pretty good. But with the announcements that were made, it just didn't seem like it had the big high end feel like I used to seeing at E3's gone by. But still, Gamescom comes I think it's a nice 1B or a nice number 2 right now, slotted behind whenever E3 decides to show up again as far as a major thing for the video game industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know that you can say that with a straight face when Ghost Simulator 3, they finally showed some gameplay for that one.
And
So
that's what the funny part about is that they
I mean,
intentionally skipped Goat Simulator 2.
that's so
They
great.
yes, so
Yeah, I love it.
absolutely. I mean, it's such
Yeah.
an unexpected popular game, and you see so many developers have tried to go down that road with their own crazy games like that. So very cool to see. But anything else stood out to you so far this year at Gamescom?
Um, my interest is piqued by the Tortuga pirate game.
Hmm.
I'm interested to see a little bit more about that. I know they didn't really announce a whole lot about it, just that it is a game that they are working on. So I'm interested to see a little bit more of that. And I'm sorry, is the Expanse game related to the TV show?
Yes, it is supposed
Wow.
to be the lasting legacy from the TV show, which is no longer, but had a
Right.
nice run
Yeah.
extended by Amazon. Yes, is
And it
definitely
was
related to that realm.
such a great show. If you haven't watched any of it, you really should. It's very good.
My previous co-host on the show, Marcus De La Garza, swore by it. Absolutely, could not speak enough raves about it. Him, that, and Ted Lasso was just what he lived for. So big shout out to Marcus on that. But yes, it is definitely something people should get into. That's the Expanse, and with this new game on the way for the Expanse, hopefully be something that will leave a legacy behind for the Expanse and won't be forgotten as far as a TV show or series is concerned. But yeah, some really cool announcements, things that I think piqued a lot of interest for people out there, but nothing that went, oh wow. The really only thing that really got people talking was the DualSense Elite controller for
Yeah.
PlayStation, and then of course the bummer news that they hit you up with a day or two later in the price change that really got everybody talking for all the wrong reasons. So
Yeah.
PlayStation.
All
The
I'm saying is call your girl. I'll help you out.
call your girl indeed, because she's been waiting to go ahead and give you the path to success
Yeah.
that only she
Yep.
can provide you, and that is Melinda Barkhouse Ross, your Sony PlayStation representative.
You
Mhm.
imagine? Uh-huh.
There you go. I can imagine, absolutely. Sony, we got to get you on the horn. Go ahead. Got to talk cash. Got to talk cash from Melinda right there for you. But what are your thoughts out there on Gamescom? Have you had a good time watching the action from our good friends in Cologne, Germany, as far as gamers out there by the tens of thousands going ahead and checking out all the action in Cologne, Germany once again? Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. And let us know what game really stuck out to you as far as being something that you're looking forward to that you got a chance to see or see debut at Gamescom. We'd love to hear it. Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, coming up next, it's Dawn Fobbs from the Mother Daughter Ish podcast. She's coming right back here to talk about what she's looking forward to in the month of September. And of course, also, as well, as we told you earlier, she's going to be talking some Only Murders in the Building on Hulu and how big a success it is. That's coming up right after the break, and then Melinda and I are back to close out the show. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're about to close out the show. It's the PC Multiverse. Thank you so much to Dawn Fobbs from the Mother Daughter Ish podcast, as always, for stopping by for her monthly TV report. Melinda, you've got some great things going on. It's kind of weird what went down last week. I was trying to follow the videos for Vampires and Vitae, and then also as well for what you were going on by Wizards and Wine with Wild Beyond the Witchlight. And I know there was a little bit of this or that, but there was still some good stuff out there that you put out.
Yeah, so we have had some pretty staggering tech issues recently.
Mhm.
All of a sudden I've got cameras that aren't being recognized by my computer. Now my computer's not recognizing my soundboard. So I've got somebody coming over on Sunday to go through my computer and help me see what's going on and what I need to buy to fix it. But that being said, we did manage to run The Wild Beyond the Witchlight and stream it this past Monday. Um, Granted, the video on the stream, what they were pointed like this, none of it was straight or level. But you know what? This is part of the fun of trying to figure all of this stuff out.
Yes.
I don't even consider myself a professional by any means. So to me, this is just trial and error and trying to figure stuff out and trying to make things happen and having a bit of a laugh at yourself about it, really. So we by the way are dark as of Saturday night right through until Wednesday. No, well, Thursday actually, because I'll be back for the show here. But we're gonna be dark. There's gonna be no vampires and Vitae, no wizards and wine. Robbie and I just taking a little vacation. We haven't not played games or been working steadily for about 2 years. So we're not taking phones, we're not taking tablets, we're not taking computers, we're not taking D&D books, we're not taking Vampire the Masquerade books, we're not taking Defiant books. we're leaving it all at home and just getting some rest and unwinding for 4 days. 4 days.
Kudos to both of you on that.
It's huge. Yeah. But I mean, like, we're still going to have the podcast episode for Vampires and Vitae drop on Friday. And I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that I get the latest episode for Wizards and Wine scheduled and ready to go. So that'll drop on Monday morning with the Las Vegas table. So those things should still happen as usual, but it'll be like the week after where we're missing an episode for Vampires and Wizards and Wine because of the vacation that we're taking. So
no worries. I wish you and Robbie a happy and safe vacation and some great
thank
time
you.
off.
Yeah.
You will get no Gerald messages. I assure you on that. Nobody like me will bother you, which I'm sure is a good thing, or him as well. So hopefully you'll put those 3 letters D&D and PCC out of mind for at least a few days at least. But once again, it's Vampires and Vitae. You know what? You can still check all the backlog of episodes today wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, also as well, check out Wild Beyond the Witchlight and Wizards and Wine today on Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. There are many, many episodes you can catch up on while they're on vacation. So when they come back, you'll be caught up right there at the Pop Culture Cosmos, indeed. But my friend, before we head on out, a couple last things to talk about. She-Hulk episode 2 kind of still didn't really explain the Titania reasons why she crashed through in the courtroom in episode 1 is something to deal with as far as traffic court. So she threw a desk at some jurors in a different courtroom because she was mad. She got a ticket of some kind. I don't know. Really didn't explain it. It's like a blink if you miss it scene. But it was more about Jessica Walters trying to go ahead and find a new job because she got fired for the battle with Titania. And now it led her into a private law firm that wants to become a superhero or supervillain, however you want to see it, law firm defending superheroes and supervillains alike. And also, as well, her first case that she gets is the Abomination in order to defend him and try and get him released. So, your thoughts on this? I thought it ended up better than how it started out. Still not hitting all the right notes with me, but what I see so far, it's okay. And I think the CG, maybe because it's TV, I'm not sure. She still seems kind of floaty, especially when she walks. It's not like she's walking step, step, step. It's like she's like going high and low. And the lip syncing is not perfect. But I think if she, you'll see this on a movie, you'll see her character in a movie. I think it's going to be a lot better. But for now, it's okay. It's okay. And I think I'm having a decent time with it.
Yeah, it's a fun movie to watch. And I know that some folks on some of the things that I have read about it were like, having a bit of an issue with, especially in the first episode, where they're on the cliff and the two Hulks are talking to each other. And she's like, rage. I've had rage my entire life. When the Hulk was like, how are you this good at this already? She's like, I know how to deal with my emotions. I've been dealing with it for forever because I'm a lady. And we're always angry and we're always frustrated. And, some of that does ring true. I won't say there's everyday frustration, but my goodness.
And that's what I think is one of the benefits and bonuses of She-Hulk is that you're seeing things from the perspective of a woman and how they're reacting to not only this situation, but everyday life and how she wants to continue her career and her passion and what she's gone to school for. And she has to deal with her crazy family that thinks one way. And, just like any stereotypical family that's, gets on people's nerves when they go ahead, and it goes back to those family dinners that really kind of annoying at times, and how they want to run your life. And yeah, a lot of the things that normal people go through in a daily basis. And it has a great perspective on that. So for that sense, I really like that part of it. It's just, again, telling an overall narrative. Still think it needs to get there. The Titania situation, again, still, I don't know why really you would go ahead and go off like that just because of a traffic court situation, as was briefly mentioned on the episode. But still, it's hitting more right notes than what it is.
Yeah, and I think that's completely fair. Also, it's only the second. I was going to say second season. It's only the second episode, so All of that stuff may come out in the watch. We don't know yet, but I'm excited and I've enjoyed what I've seen so far. It's been fun.
Been fun indeed. But what are your
Yeah.
thoughts out there on She-Hulk episode 2? Please let us know. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Shout out to Einard Harrison. Just truly appreciate you liking what we're doing each and every time out. Thank you so much as always, and continued success in your acting career. We're watching your movies. We're watching. Make sure that they're going ahead and getting some big box office out there. So appreciate everything you do, Einar, and thank you so much again for stopping by on the program. And you can go ahead and check that out in my interview with him on our archives. But before we head on out, Melinda, one last thing I want to go ahead and touch on, and that is Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3.
Yes.
I know with Star Trek fans, this is kind of like hit or miss because it comes to like a Rick and Morty crazy style thing, but it's hitting the right notes with me. I know it's not hitting the right notes with every Star Trek fan, but I think it's still doing well. It's very popular. Paramount Plus has already greenlighted another season for it. So your thoughts on Star Trek Lower Decks as season 3 opened up this week for another fabulous episode.
It's really fun when you can see Star Trek not take itself so seriously. And I think that that's what Lower Deck does. It almost feels like it's a bit of a pressure valve where they just let all of the silly out in the cartoon, and then they can get back to, the serious stuff when it comes to the shows and things like that. So that's my take on it. That's how I've been looking at it. I know that I don't always share the popular opinion with the majority of Star Trek fans. I seem to be a bit of a contrarian there, and it's never on purpose. But no, I think the show is great. I think that it's I think if you just look at it as the pressure valve for folks to get their silly out when it comes to Star Trek, you should be fine with the show at that point.
I think so. I think people just need to relax on it. I think they need to enjoy it for what it is. It's a funny 30-minute show. It really does a good job of entertaining. It's lighthearted. It's good-spirited. And I really think that it's a cool way to go ahead and get the Star Trek brand out there to a younger audience, which is something that they've needed to do to go ahead and see if they can get it on an even or a more even plane with Star Wars. That, I think, is very important to them as far as how they want to approach the Star Trek universe going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that like here, the big Star Trek convention is coming really soon, right? Is it? Mm-hmm. It might even be this weekend.
I will check on that.
Okay. But anyway, I know that there are a couple of the voice actors who are from the show who will be at the convention.
Oh, they're always there. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just like, they're making the rounds and they're out meeting fans and they're there to, have a chat and all of that stuff. So they seem as accessible as any of the other actors from any of the other Star Trek series. So I think it's great. I think that you're absolutely right. Star Trek needed to do something to appeal to a younger audience. And I think that this was a very smart way for them to do it.
So hopefully, if you're a big Star Trek fan, visiting the Bally's Hotel and Casino this weekend for the Star Trek 56-year mission that is taking place, again, at Bally's Las Vegas Hotel and Casino here in the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada. Please go ahead and let us know your thoughts. Are you a huge Star Trek fan that's now into Star Trek Lower Decks as Season 3 kicked off this week? We'd love to hear your thoughts, and also on the largest of all these Star Trek conventions that takes place here each and every year in Las Vegas. If you have any thoughts or pictures you'd like to share on our social media as well, let us know. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. My friend, it's been a great episode. I truly appreciate you gutting it out with your equipment, as always, and the frustrations hopefully have subsided, and you're planning that awesome vacation with your awesome husband right now. But any last thoughts before we head on out?
Absolutely. I would love to see your Klingon cosplay.
Mine?
Well, not yours specifically.
I would mind. I could do it.
You really shouldn't talk about my mom like that. How dare you, sir?
Yeah, you just got to go like you're a little. You got to go make those distinct sounds, and you're right
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah,
Nobody knows what
absolutely.
the heck you're saying, anyways. It's Klingon.
I mean, I used to know a lot more of it than I do now. But yeah. Anyway, I started to do Klingon cosplay when I was like 15.
Okay.
And I did that for a long time. But anyway, yeah, I would love to see it. I miss doing the costumes, and I miss getting the makeup on and getting the makeup right and hiding those edges and all of that good stuff. I really miss that stuff. So I would love to see some cosplays come our way. That'd be great.
Well, that would be great indeed. But, to the normal person out there, or the general audience out there, I should say, every time you try to speak to them in Klingon, they're going to give you a Kleenex and say Gesundheit. So they're
Yes,
going to say that. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
true.
But thank you so much for watching and listening. We truly appreciate it. So for Melinda Barkhouse Ross, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great